Chargers seem to be going through major struggles early, and then you ask yourself, what is the problem? What is the issue? Why are they losing these games? Why are they under 500? Why is their record 2-3? And I think if you really look at some of the internal stuff, it makes sense why they're losing these games. Brandon Staley needs to go as their head coach. He needed to go last year. I don't know how he kept his job. I don't know how he kept his job 2 years ago. That game against the Raiders when he made that decision that backfired and they ended up losing that game. All they had to do was tie and they would have made the postseason. He's done about all the red flags that coaches do. He's known to blow leads. Last year, they were up big on Jacksonville, on Trevor Lawrence in his first playoff game. Couldn't finish. The Jags came all the way back and they won. Brandon Staley, guys, is a defensive coach, and that unit is by far the weakest part of that team. Their offense is elite to great. You have everything you want on offense. Justin Herbert, although he had his shaky moments in that game, he did miss 2, if not touchdowns, 50-plus yard plays to Keenan Allen in that game. But you got to look more at the O-line isn't giving him a lot of time in the pocket. He's flustered. And, sometimes you're going to miss a few throws. Every quarterback does it. Every QB in this league misses throws. Justin Herbert today is not the problem. He is not the issue. He is the solution. He reminds me of probably a better version of Matthew Stafford with Detroit. A better version that I think could compete. Detroit just didn't really have the resources. They could never really get, the pieces around right. Defense could never match. But then you look at the Chargers and their defense, weakest part of their team. Brandon Staley is a defensive coach. It should be very glaring that at least within the second year of being the coach, your unit that you specialize in, if you're the head coach, should be the best part of the team. It should be the part of the team that you look at and you're like, okay, that's a defensive team. The Steelers, Mike Tomlin, that's a defensive team. Like Kyle Shanahan, that's an offensive driven, even though they have a great defense, that's an offensive played through, great schemed, like Mike McDaniel with Miami. It's an offensive genius. Brandon Staley, defense is the weakest part of that team because their offense is so good. Keenan Allen's a star. Austin Eckler may be regressing a little bit, but, still can do great things. He's a star. They might have missed on their draft pick, Quentin Johnson. I expected him to be a lot better. Is that because there's not proper schemes that he's getting? Is he not getting good looks? Is he not being given good routes? Or is he just really playing this bad? Is he really, putting a dump on the bed like this? I don't think that's the case. I think the guy's got talent. Sometimes it takes players a little bit. Usually not this long at the receiver position, but we're only about 5 games into this. It's tough to do that. But, defensively, I feel like they've had some draft hits this year in the draft. You have the quarterback. Something's wrong. And don't even get me started about the fourth down issue. The fourth down things are like, he's a big analytics guy. He's more of a boy genius kind of coach. Goes through the analytics, doesn't use common sense, doesn't use, football knowledge, uses the analytics for every decision that he makes, seemingly. Uses the analytics. And, it's not bad to use the analytics. But sometimes you got to be in the game. You got to realize, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Like in that game that he's done it, I've seen him do it like 10 times where the game has been in question. They've had the timeouts. And on fourth down, for whatever reason, in his own territory, when they're like up by 3 or up by 6, he'll just like go for it and he won't. Mind you, they never get it. And if they don't end up losing the game, like it's a really close game, like every time that they don't end up losing it. It's a mess. I don't know what you're thinking going for it on some of these fourth downs. He's a bad coach. he's a bad coach and he's holding these guys back, and they got to figure it out. Because this team, with how badly coached they are, that their offense is too good to have this. Their offense is too good to not have a proper guy with proper schemes. Justin Herbert, he needs an offensive head coach. It's glaring. You can see it from miles away. They got to figure out the O-line. These guys can compete. They almost beat Miami. Like, they had the Cowboys on the ropes. You gotta get a better, probably offensive-minded coach in the building, and then from there you can do success. But right as of right now, I don't see them making the postseason if they stay with Brandon Staley. He needs to be fired immediately. If I was in there, he would already be gone. We'll see how they play against the Chiefs, but if it's a close shootout and he makes a dumb decision, or if something doesn't look right, get him out of the building. You cannot waste a player like Justin Herbert. You cannot waste a receiver like Keenan Allen, who maybe only has a few more good years left. Austin Eckler is starting to regress. You got to take advantage. The time is now for them, for at least this unit. You have a 3-year period. And mind you have to start paying Herbert very soon. That contract, he's still on his rookie deal this year. Next year, it's going to be a bit more. And then that contract really hits in 2 seasons from now. So, the time to do something is really, really soon. You gotta have the right personnel, and that's up front.